Tutorial once again, and in this tutorial I'm going to talk about background operations which is noticeable to the user. So how can we make a background services or background operation to be visible to the user is by using a foreground service. So foregrounds, usually background operations are do not have UI, but there are some foreground services which helps us to make your background operation noticeable to the user by showing you a notification. Okay, so we are going to implement that thing in this tutorial. So so what are foreground services? Foreground services are another way of performing background operations. The name might be bit of counterintuitive. It is meant to differentiate these services from the base Android background services. Okay, so the former the foreground service is a bit much tied to a notification, while mm, the later services runs in the background with no user. Background services are pretty much, they don't have any UI. So foreground services are having UI or notification, okay, after this your background services completes, okay, just to notify the user. Okay, and so so there is also another slight difference between foreground service and background service, is that the background services are they can be terminated when the system is low of memory, while your foreground services do not get terminated automatically, even if when your system do not run out of memory, right? So in Android 9 Pie or API level 28, we have to request the foreground service permission to use foreground services. So obviously we have to use permissions to use these foreground services. um, since it's a normal permission, so it would be granted to your app automatically, so you don't need to ask for users permission consent in runtime, right? So before we launch a foreground services, we must create also one services. Foreground services is a subclass of Android abstract service class. So we do not intend to bind to the service. So in our example that we are going to do, we can simply override on bind. So if we do not intend to bind the service, we can pretty much simply override the unbind intent and return null. Okay, if you don't want to bind the service when you create this foreground services by extending a service class. Okay, uh, uh, actually let's give me your note. A simple note is that please note that binding is one of the way for interested clients to communicate with the service. We will not face on this tutorial, and but we will discover it in the later tutorials. Okay, our foreground services must be actually tied with the notification. Okay, on Android 8, that is Oreo or API level 26 and above, if the foreground service is not tied to to a notification, then Android not responding or ANR time window around 5 seconds will be shown, and the service is stopped, and the app is will be not responding, you know. So we have to always tide our foreground services with a notification. um, so obviously we need to create a notification. So we will be implementing the notifications soon in our application that we are gonna demonstrate. Okay, and uh, yes, let's we can just pretty much go and start implementing our foreground service. So the first thing what we have to do is, obviously we have to go and check, yeah, we have implemented our library for our work manager, that is a work runtime KTX. And we need to create a class to uh, okay, let's create a class which is gonna be a foreground service, which will player route tracking service. Okay, which will pretty much extend a service, and obviously we have to uh, and okay, why it's not this provider service, it's a uh, this service, and then we have to bind, override this bind function. For the moment we will return a null. As I told you that we to create a service class we have to pretty much extend the service class. Okay, so in this newly created service, what we are gonna do is we are gonna create some companion objects, which will be some constants, like notification id, id 0 1 2 are constant, actually it will be unused, so, and const val is a extra, let's create also extra, which is a secret, it's not a secret but it's a player id, which will be also player id. And then we also need to create some live data to track, to observe this completion of the service, right? Okay, so let's create the mutable tracking completion, which is a mutable live data and pretty much returns a string. And finally tracking completion, we have a live data, tracking completion. Okay, so pretty much this tracking completion will just only observe the tracking completion without exposing this mutable tracking completion. Okay, so that your service is not mutable, right? And then we need to obviously add this function called it's a private function. Let me just close this so that will be much more space to write the code. Get pending intent, pending intent, which will have a flag if build dot version dot stk. Okay, let me just import this build dot version stk is greater than build version codes dot s flag so we have a immutable flag which can be also a constant, right? Okay. Else we return 0, right? So let's me import this immutable flag, which is flag of a pending intent. And yeah, obviously we have to return this pending intent get get activity, passing this context and obviously the request code and the intent, this, and we have to pass the our work manager activity and plus the flag, right? Okay, so we have this pending intent to our notification that we're gonna pass. Okay, this will actually launch the may and like your work manager activity whenever the user clicks on the notification. So we'll call pending intent get activity, passing the context, no request code, intent that will launch your manager work manager activity or any activity that you're going to declare here. Okay, so it's not only gonna be work manager activity, but for this tutorial I'm gonna put this work manager activity. And then the flag immutable flag is available, otherwise no flags 0 to is provided. So you get back the pending intent which will launch that that activity. Okay, so we are also gonna add another functions to create a notification channel. So on device running Android Oreo or newer and return a channel ID. So we're gonna create this get notification channel function, create notification channel. Yeah, okay, let's create this notification channel. Private function create notification channel, which doesn't take any inputs but which is gonna return the channel as a string, right? If your build dot your version dot your SDK is greater than or equals to build dot version course dot o sorry guys o else you have to return empty string. If it is greater than equals to version o, then you have to create a notification channel. ID equals to player deploy here, channel name is player deploy tracking, and then your channel will be notification channel where you will be passing all this new channel ID, your channel name, and then also your channel notification manager, your importance default, like you have passed as a default importance. Then you create your service which require not null. So this context compact get system service compact get system service should passing this system server notification manager is the name. You should get system service, it should not be null. Then your service, you create a notification channel and pass the channel name, and finally you have to return the new channel ID. Okay, so here you create your notification channel. Okay, so after that, after you create your notification channel, we need to also create a function which provides you the notification builder. So we need to create a function provides a notification builder. So let's create another function which get notification builder pending intent and channel ID, which is obviously a string. Notification compact builder, we have to pass this as a context channel ID. Then we obviously have to set content title is your player approaching the your playground. So actually you are deploying your player to in the playground, and set content text. Your content text will be player size is deployed, and then now you have a set small icon which will be r dot drawable dot okay, run player. Okay, actually it was see travel, yeah. And what else, like set content we see content intent. You also need to set the content intent is the pending intent, because whenever you click that you need to navigate to their activity, right? Set ticker is like a player deployed tracking movement and set ongoing to true. Okay, so yeah, we have got the notification builder. So now what next? After getting the notification builder, then we have to implement the start foreground service, a function that starts foreground service. So let's implement the start foreground service function. So let's implement the start foreground service, so which doesn't take any inputs, but it's gonna compact, it's gonna return a notification builder, compact the builder, right? Well, pending intent is get pending intent. You have a channel, let's see, channel ID. If your build version is greater than SDK k int, which is obvious audio, build dot version codes dot audio, then you're gonna create the notification. Otherwise we don't need the notification channel, right? Else we don't need the notification channel, that's why we pass the empty string. Then notification builder is get notification builder pending intent, and we pass the channel ID, and we start the foreground service. No, we start the foreground passing notification ID and notification builder dot build function. Start foreground actually this what it does is started, then you also make this service run in the foreground, supplying the ongoing notification to be shown to the user while in this state, right? So, and what else, like you have to obviously return the notification builder. So here this starts the foreground service, right? And what next is like we need to define two fields in our service, one to hold a reusable notification builder class, another to hold a reference to handler, which will be later used to post work in background, right? So let's create this notification these two variables. Okay, it's private latent val notification builder is a notification compact dot builder, and we have a latent var service holder service handler actually. Okay, sorry, not the holder, it's a handler. Yeah. Okay, so now after defining these two fields in our service, so one is to hold the reusable notification compact builder, and another is to hold the reference to the handler. So after that we will go to override the callback call on create, and then we will start a foreground service and keep a reference to the notification builder and create a service handler. Okay, so let's go and create this on create, and sorry guys, I should not have cancelled this one. It's like a notification builder. We start a foreground service handler thread. We create a handler thread which pretty much use like player tracking, apply and start this handler thread, right? And service handler will pretty much use the handler thread dot looper. Okay, so as you can see, you to create the handler instance, we must first initialize the handler thread. Like you see that, you can see that I have done here. So now we have to go we have to define a call that tracks our like the deployed player as they approach their playground, you know. So let's create a function called track to destination. Track to destination function. So we'll pretty much create somewhere here private function track to destination. We'll pretty much track this player to the destination, which pretty much takes notification builder. It's a notification compact dot builder, and notification manager get system service notification service as a notification manager, and for I in, so we'll be counting till 10, right, down to 0. So it's gonna be a countdown from 10 to 0. We sleep for 1 second, so the countdown will be for each seconds. And notification builder, set content text, set content text, will just show the each seconds to the destination. Set silent true, it will be pretty silent. And then notification manager notify the notification ID, and notification builder dot build, right. Notification manager notify, okay, add permission. So we gonna yeah, obviously we need to add some permissions. Let's go to our manifest. As I told you, we need to add some permissions, right. So let's add some permissions that I told you in the beginning of the lecture. That is, we need to add two permissions here. Okay, one is called foreground service, which is obviously given in the runtime without the use of any user constants, without asking for any user consent. Foreground service, because those are simple services which don't have any. Okay, so, and another is a post notification. Okay, so we have added the permission to the service. And yes, okay, so we have get this track to destination, right. So now we also need to add a function to notify the observers to of completion of the main thread. So we need to create another service, like another function. It's called notify completion of that you have completed your task, right. Private function notify completion, which pretty much takes the player ID, is obviously a string, and you take your handler, a looper, dot get main looper, dot post to mutable tracking completion dot value is your player ID. So this we post it actually on the main looper. So we make sure that the update occurs on the main UI. Why we get the main looper? Because we want to make sure that the update occurs on the main UI app thread. Okay, while setting the value of the agent ID, we are notifying all observers that the agent, your player ID has reached its destination. Okay, so that's the purpose. So also we need to override on start command. So let's go and override this on start command. And finally on start command, and we need to yeah, obviously implement this. Well, return value is a super on start command, start ID, and then well, as like your player ID will be intent get string extra, your extra player ID, and otherwise you throw a illegal state exception saying that your player ID must be provided, right? Then we need to use a service handler to post the respective track to destination, notification builder. Then we have a notify completion, we don't do anything. Notify completion, we need to also notify completion, passing the player ID. Then we use our service compact, stop foreground, service compact, we stop foreground, and remove and stop our background service, right? So stop our handler and return the value, right? Okay, so yeah, finally we also have done that. So and now, so now, yeah, we have already just created our for like a player routing tracking service, right? uh, and also we need to, okay, let's see, we have to also make sure we have to also create the service. Okay, so now this service will be, so we should declare this service also in our manifest. So let's declare our service inside our application, like as a service. We have to, it's a player routing service. Let me close this, and then enabled is true and exported is true. Okay, so we have to yeah, declare our service that we created in our manifest file. So the default is true, so that so this is optional. Defining a service with Android exported true tells the system that other application can start the service. So in our case we don't need the extra functionality, but we have added it just to make sure or make aware of this capability of services, right? So and also make sure that you have enabled to true, telling the system that you can instantiate the service, otherwise it's not gonna work if you declare it as false. Okay, so now finally we need to go to our activity. Our activity is a work manager activity, and then we have to launch the tracking service. Okay, so let's go to our activity and launch the tracking service. Where is my, yeah, this is my activity, and let me create a private function which launch tracking service. Okay, our is called tracking player route tracking service, tracking completion, observer. So actually we are pretty much observing the live data that we have as like it's a player ID, and then so result will show the player player ID arrived, this player has arrived to the playground. Arrived in the ground. Okay, so this is the motivation. And what else, like we service intent, we have a route tracking, player route tracking service. Let's import the intent class, does java apply, and put extra. Okay, we have an extra player, extra play player id, and is obviously 9, and context compact. We have to start for foreground service, start foreground service, passing this context and service. So okay, actually it's a service intent. Okay, so we have created a launch tracking service, so you can pretty much yeah, now you can pretty much track your player, right, with this launch tracking service. So you will do this after you have after the player rest, player has done resting, the player will do some stretching. Then the player will play, and the player will rest, then he will go to the playground. Okay, so we can launch tracking service, then you go to the playground again, right? So he will go to so launch tracking service is done here. Okay, and yeah, actually we need to show the notification permission, right? So let's also add the notification permission. Okay, so let me just do some kind of a cleanup here, that we have to show the permission. So we ensure permission granted, and we dispatch the player, right? So let's create another function here. It's a private function. We ensure permission has granted, and we dispatch the player. So we make sure the build dot version dot stk. Okay, let me import stk int is less than build dot version course dot tiramisu. So if it is less than version tiramisu, then you don't need to do anything, so we just need to can dispatch the dispatch the player, right? So let's create a private function to dispatch the player, which is pretty much gonna do all this task, right? So let me just control X, sorry, control X, and we can just copy paste here. Okay, so this is all about dispatching the player. So we dispatch player and return, right? Otherwise we have to request permission, request permissions. So to request a permission, obviously we need to create a request permission launcher, private let int var request permission launcher, which is pretty much gonna pass the string, and permission launcher is gonna be a register for activity result, which is an activity result. Contracts is a request permission, and if is granted, okay, if your permission is granted, then you gonna dispatch the player. Otherwise obviously you need to ask for the permission to the user. So so we need to also create another function to show permission rationale. Obviously our permissional rationale is yeah, it's gonna show our positive action and say unit. Okay, it's alert dialog builder. Okay, obviously we need to pass the context to the builder, and set title. We need to set the title to notifications permissions. Set message to show the progress. We need the notification permission. Okay, this is pretty, it's not given at runtime, so we have to ask the permission. It is not like the permission of setting the, you see, it's not like permission like of using foreground services. This post notification, we need to get a notification like a user consent. Okay, so that's why we are doing that. This android.r.string. Okay, positive action, negative button, android.r.string.cancel. obviously we gonna get the dialog. Then we need to dialog.dismiss. Then we finally create and show the alert dialog. Okay, so we show permission rationale, and after we show the permission rationale, what we have to do is we have to request permission launcher and launch the post notification permission. Post notifications actually, yes. Okay, so we import it. Yes, so we show the notification permissions. So then again we have to actually obviously we need to check the condition each time we run the application. After we have in the first launch we have to always check like if the permission has granted, right? So check self permission, that you have post notifications permission equals to permission, like a package manager is permission granted. Then obviously you dispatch the player. Sorry, it's like dispatch the player. If should show permission rationale, it's like post notification. If you have to show the permission rationale, then you show the permission rationale. So permission rationale with the request permission launcher launch as passed as a lambda post notifications. Otherwise we just show launch our permission request, right? Post notification, right? So this is it, guys. And yeah, I think we are pretty good to go. We can run our application and we can just check if everything is working. Okay, so we have you say allow Kotlin app to send you a notification. Okay, allow it. So now after player has done stretching, player has done playing, player will be done resting, then he will be deployed to the playground, right? So let's see. You see, you have arrived in the playground. We got the notification, right? So there was a simple notification. Yeah, we can relaunch and check it again actually. Done playing, and you see there was a notification, and this is the noise player approaching to the playground. 6 seconds to destination, 5 seconds to destination, 3 seconds to destination, and 1 second to destination, and he has arrived. Yeah, that's it, guys. And this is all about the foreground service, which is pretty much attached to the notification, right? And hope you like it, and please, if you have any questions, just to comment. If you like it, please like, subscribe, and press the bell button so that you will get notifications, just like this kind of notification when I will be uploading new videos. Thank you very much, and catch you up in the next lecture.